rest of it might actually happen. So it's always touch and go with, you know, there's an old phrase, actually, Nikhil, you'll know this phrase in IT. How does it go? Intel inside, idiot outside.
We are live on Facebook now.
I didn't quite catch that, Bill.
Hang on a minute. That's me mucking something up. Okay, we're live on Facebook. We should do this a bit better. He says it every week. Yeah, I think we're also live. We might be live on YouTube. We're hopefully live on YouTube. So, lost my screen. Okay. Got it. We are live streaming. So,
yep, we're live on YouTube as well.
Fantastic. So, I've managed to get the 50p's in. Speaker view. All right. So, this must be the winter solstice coming up. I'm struggling with the tech even worse today. Right, folks. Hopefully you can see me. I probably pressed the wrong button. Welcome to the weekly show on TPP. Pleasure to be here. Even though the tech is working fine. I've got enough 50p's, and we've got two guests today. We're privileged to have these two guys, experts in the field, here to share some super great knowledge. First one is someone who's becoming a regular, and you know, people might start talking, but he does know his stuff. And the reason we're slightly late is we were having a really interesting pre-beat chat. Akhil, the man with the money, lend me some 50p's. Over to you, Akhil. And hang on, let me put some 50p's in so you could share the slides, because that's the next question that's coming my way.
And then while Dill's doing that, I'm not the guy with the money. I'm the guy that can arrange the money, hopefully, for you guys. So while Dill is loading the 50p's, just a quick introduction for those of you that don't know me. My name's Akhil. I'm the principal director at Our Mortgage Broker. We're a specialist mortgage broker here at Our Mortgage Broker. Our offices are based in Berkshire. We've got 7 brokers in London and the home counties, and we can help all types of clients, whether you're a first-time buyer, a portfolio buy-to-let investor, or a commercial landlord. So let me share my screen with you guys. Can everyone see that screen there? Just give me a nod.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, great. So as I said, the company's Our Mortgage Broker. For those of you that are tech friendly, feel free to take a picture of the QR code that will take you into a short fact find, and will get us in contact with one another. For those of you that are not so tech friendly, take a note of our telephone number, email, and our website, and that's another alternative way of contacting us. So I always like kicking off the mortgage update each week about the mortgage market in terms of what's going on, where we stand as investors, borrowers, and as property enthusiasts. So, you know, there's huge speculation around the Bank of England and many central banks across the world, whether they are going to increase their central bank borrowing rates. The question is when rather than if they are going to. And I think we are going to be seeing a rise in interest rates from a personal perspective in the very near future. And that could be as quick as the first week of December. So for those of you that are either on standard variable rates or mortgages, now's a good time to contact us to review your mortgages, because you probably will be able to save some money on your monthly mortgage bills if you contact us sooner rather than later. For those of you that have mortgages coming up in the next 6 months, and that could be your primary residence or a buy-to-let investment property, do give us a call, because we can start the process with you 6 months prior to your mortgage deal coming up. So I won't read these paragraphs. They're fairly self-explanatory. There's huge speculation around interest rates, as I've just said. There's also a huge increase in the rate of inflation here in the UK. We're circa 4.5% now. The Bank of England's target is below 2%. So we're over double what the Bank of England is expecting. So that does suggest that we're going to have an increase in rates, and that does have an inverse correlation. So higher the rates, the lower the inflation. So that's probably the way they're going to target to reduce inflation. But I'm no economist. You know, feel free to get the relevant advice from the superiors above me. So there's a question I always get, you know, whether you're a first-time buyer, portfolio landlord, and someone that wants to move home, you know, what do I need to arrange a mortgage? And it's quite simple. As independent mortgage brokers, we're whole of market, so we've got access to the entire market. And what that does is it gives you as the borrower the confidence in us that we're making sure that we're getting you the best rate. And we do this by first and foremost doing a fact-finding journey with you, understanding who you are as a person, what your income looks like, and your expenditure and everything in between. Then we'll go out to the market to find you a relevant mortgage that suits your demands and needs. Once we've sourced the relevant mortgage for you, or prior to doing so, we will ask for these particular documents. And this list of documents is not so onerous. It's very, very common. And it's something that you should have in your filing cabinet that you can share with us as your mortgage brokers. So first and foremost, we need a valid passport. Now, a lot of people forget that their passport's expired. So my first suggestion is make sure that you've got a valid passport. Make sure you've got a valid driving license. And if you've moved home recently, make sure your current address is detailed at the bottom of the driving license. If you are employed, we will need your latest 3 months pay slips along with your latest year's P60. Alongside that, we'll need the latest 3 months personal bank statements so we can use them as corresponding to your pay slips to your bank statements, which the lender will require. If you are self-employed, we will either need your full business accounts and or your latest 3 years tax calculations and corresponding tax overviews. Now, don't get hung up about it. If you don't know what that means, if you are self-employed, just remember that line and email your accountant and they'll be able to get that back to you immediately. And if you are purchasing a property, every lender will request proof of deposit. And a proof of deposit means a full month's bank statement detailing your name and address and proof of deposit for the purchase that you are requiring to purchase. So they're your common documents that we'll always need. There might be other relevant documents that we will need, but we'll get to know what they are as and when the bank requires it or during our fact-finding journey once I get to know who you are and what you need. The next screen here is the mortgage rates. Now I like to add this as my last screen because it gives you an indication from week to week where the rates are and where the rates are going. So not much has changed, to be honest, over the last week or so. But what I would say is lenders are getting very, very nervous around what the Bank of England are going to be doing. Now, a lot of banks, a lot of economists, and a lot of economists, I should say only, sorry, were thinking that the Bank of England were going to increase the Bank of England base rate in November. They did not, however. But what they are still doing, and so are the stock market, is they're actually factoring in a rate increase, albeit by 10 basis points or 25 basis points in the next month or two. So we are seeing lenders increase their fixed rate interest rates, but we're also seeing lenders decrease the interest rates as well. So as mortgage brokers, we're very confused by the matter, and so are lenders, because that clearly does show the lenders are either nervous, twitchiest, or they know more than others. But what is there to take away from this screen? First and foremost, the rates are very, very competitive. Number two, they're extremely low. And three, they're probably the cheapest they've ever been. So if you are looking to purchase a HMO in a limited company structure, rates start at 2.88. If you're looking to purchase a buy-to-let in your personal name, so you're either a first-time landlord or a landlord that owns less than 4 properties, rates start from 1.14. If you're looking to purchase properties in a limited company structure for tax reasons or because you're a portfolio landlord or your tax advisor has suggested so, rates would start from 2.59. The second set of rates there are around your main residence, so your principal home. So if you're looking for a 10% down payment, a 90% loan to value mortgage, rates start from 1.34, and that is a tracker rate, which is linked to the Bank of England base rate. You can also get fixed rates as well, but that's part of the conversation we'll have with our clients. And if you've got a 40% deposit or 40% equity, and you're only relying on the bank for 60% of borrowing, rates start from 0.84. So as I said, the rates are extremely low. They haven't changed so much from the last few weeks. If I look at the trend where they're going in the buy-to-let market, they're coming down, I would say. In the principal home residence, I would say they're probably creeping up by very, very minimal amounts, like 0.1, 0.2. So they're not going to be a huge drain on your wallet each month. But just keep an eye, as I said at the first screen, on whether you've got mortgages coming up in the next 6 months. Now's a good time to talk to us. And if you are looking to move, have that conversation with us. And before you start going out to find properties, please do contact us, because it's key that you understand your level of borrowing, the time it's going to take, and then you can go out and speak to the relevant estate agents, take up the viewings and putting in your offers. My last screen here is our contact details. So once again, we're all over social media. So if you're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook, just at us at Our Mortgage Broker, connect with us. We're very, very approachable. So as I said, by telephone, email, or via our social media handles, please do contact us. We're open 7 days a week, and one of our trusted mortgage brokers, if not myself, will contact you and hopefully find a solution for your next mortgage inquiry. Thank you, Dil.
Thank you, Akhil. Very useful. So got 2 questions for you, if you've got time, if you
Sure.
can share some of your wisdom. Last week you talked about, I think you should actually talk about it every week, in fact,
Yes.
EPCs and I hesitate to say the word, it's almost a ticking time bomb that's coming for us in 2025, is that right?
Yeah, so Dil, you raise a valid point, and what I'm going to be doing from next week is leaving the EPC rating paragraph in all my slides, and what Dil's talking about, for those that don't know, is around the EPC ratings. So if you own a buy-to-let investment property and the EPC rating is D, E or higher, from 2025, you won't be able to apply for a buy-to-let mortgage. So existing tenancies have up to 2028 for the landlord to improve the EPC rating to A to C. For existing tenancies, they've got to make them let me start that again. New tenancies from 2025 need to be A to C. Existing tenancies will need to be A to C from 2028. So it is a ticking time bomb, to be honest, because for those borrowers that have got mortgages with EPC ratings of E, for example, in 2025 are going to have a problem to get a mortgage. And to go from an E rating to a C rating can be quite costly. It might not just be removing and replacing light bulbs. It might be boilers. It might be windows. It might be a whole host of things. So for those of you that are looking to buy investment properties, try to look for properties that have a C to A EPC rating, or at least a D rating, where you can make minimal changes to bring the rating to a C to an A, because as Dil quite rightly said, it could potentially be a fatal ticking time bomb going forward.
So thank you for that, Akhil. It is quite important, and the reason is there used to be a thing: change the light bulb, stick a jacket on on your tank, and bingo, you'll meet the EPC requirements. From what I've seen and heard, it's not going to be that simple. And also, when things are further down the line, we have a habit of saying, well, it'll be all right, it'll be later, and then bang, suddenly 2025's here. And if you're going to do works, you need to get your stuff documented. That's another thing. So double glazing, all of this stuff, boilers, get all your documentation, spend a little bit more now. If you're going to keep the property, that is, spend a little bit more now and get it in tune. So Akhil, thank you very much. That's really good information, please. Like I said, with this sort of stuff, it just sort of slips by and bingo, it's there. Second question for you. When you're getting on the board on the Bank of England?
No, not anytime soon. I'm enjoying myself as a company director, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but not anytime soon.
Not yet, because, I guess we need you here more.
Yes,
I'll get someone else.
Out to 5 p.m. each and every Thursday. So, not anytime soon.
Brilliant. Thank you for that share. Really valuable information.
Pleasure.
Really good stuff. And look, prove how good Akil is. He's lent me enough 50p so we can bring on a second guest. And we've got a really great really great second guest today. He's been on the show before. And as you know, my tech skills are so no comment on that, actually. There's not enough 50p's to get my tech skills up. So we've got with us Nikhil Agarwal, who's the tech guy. And I'm going to stop taking up his time. Nikhil.
No problem. Yeah, thanks very much, Phil, for the introduction. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, over to you. Even with my limited sharing abilities, you've managed to make it work. So I'm going to keep quiet for a little while. I'm going to listen very carefully to what stuff you're going to give us now. So over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. It's great to present today. So as Bill said, my name's Nikhil Agarwal. I'm the founder of a company called Air Buy and Sell. So essentially, Air Buy and Sell is a data-driven property technology company. And it was set up to help investors to source properties in the service accommodation space. So by service accommodation, I mean, properties that can be booked for a night or for a weekend or for a week. And they're typically listed on websites like Airbnb, Booking.com, some on Sykes Cottages as well. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about sort of problems that we are trying to solve, and and how we do this using our data-driven approach. Right. So firstly, trying to source properties to run a service accommodation is a really difficult task. The reason why is given the recent sort of explosion in this industry, with lots of investors getting into it, lots more people looking for places to stay on like a nightly or weekend basis. Governments and councils are putting restrictions in place, asking short-term let hosts to get permits, also preventing the number of nights for which properties can be run as service accommodation. And in addition to that, prime locations like city centres all mainly consist of leasehold apartment buildings. And in these buildings, you'll often find that service accommodation isn't permitted by the freeholder or the management company or the residents in the building. And anyone who tries to do service accommodation, they face a lot of hassle, and eventually they're shut down and prevented from doing that. But once they've overcome that major hurdle of actually finding a property that they can purchase and then convert to service accommodation, there's also a steep learning curve there with trying to run that property efficiently. So by that, I mean, being able to sort of connect with the right service accommodation providers, getting the right lender in place, ensuring that you've got the correct insurance, getting set up with all of the right software solutions, implementing the right management company for it all. There's a lot of moving parts. And basically, we find that especially new investors getting into this aren't completely aware of everything that's involved. And that is then a problem which prevents them from running their business as cost effectively as possible. Right. So the solution that we use a data-driven approach to solve these two problems. So we create a series of databases. The first of which is it consists of all of the UK apartment buildings which currently have service accommodation operating inside them. So this is basically telling you the building name and addresses and how long service accommodation has been operating in there. So the sort of diligent investor can then look at those buildings and focus their search in those buildings, as they're much less likely to face pushback from freeholders, management companies and other residents by targeting those specific buildings. We also then provide a list of properties for sale and rent in those buildings. So we develop custom software tools which allow us to scrape information from the likes of Zoopla, Rightmove and On the Market, and we're able to pull properties for rent and for sale, which have addresses matching those buildings, which already have service accommodation operating inside them. So that saves a lot of time when trying to source, buy to SA and rent to rent SA opportunities. And the third thing we do is provide a database of all SA partners. So this is basically a regularly updated database, which includes lenders on SAs, management companies, photographers, different software tools, and we also provide reviews which we pull from the internet, so that you can compare and organize the different partners. So I'm the founder of the company. My education is in mechanical engineering. However, the last 3 years I spent getting my own service accommodation units, and I now have 5 units in Liverpool. And it's basically when I was trying to expand my portfolio, it was when I came across these issues of trying to source SA properties and the difficulties associated with that. So then I decided to then start building databases for myself, and then off the back of that I formed this company, Air Buy and Sell, to help other investors in this space by building data sets for them. So I'm the CEO of the company and the engineering lead. So we target many property investors and also deal sources. So the investors that we target, as I say, they're the ones looking to get into service accommodation. Typically, people get into service accommodation because you find the highest net yields. You can often achieve sort of net yields in excess of 30% if you do everything correctly. And at the same time, some of our customers are the deal sources and deal finders. They use our data to put packages together and then present them to the hands-off investor. So using our databases, investors are able to reduce the time taken by up to 10 times to find suitable properties for service accommodation. It also takes the risk out of it by ensuring that you're running a fully compliant SA business. You're not, in breach of the lease or of the management company's terms and conditions. And then thirdly, it helps to maximise the profitability of your SA business whilst minimising the time needed to operate it. So to get started with it, all people need to do is just sign up at our website, which is www.airbuyandsell.info. And at the moment, we speak to everyone on a one-to-one basis and then discuss a bespoke data package that suits your needs. The way we price this is on a subscription basis. So we charge £25 per month per database, and that's for a specific location. And then with a monthly subscription, it means that you get new data on a weekly basis. I'm sure you can imagine any properties that are for sale and rent, that that information quickly becomes outdated. So with a monthly subscription, you get new data every week. And we're also looking to provide a discount for property professional members. And we can discuss that with you directly if you're interested in our service. Right, so this is our contact information. Our company is based in Liverpool, in Man Island, and there's the website link again. So if you do want to try out the service or find out any more information, you just need to head to the website and sign up there, and we'll be in touch. That's the end of the presentation. Thanks very much for listening. And if anyone's got any questions, I'll be delighted to answer them.
Right, Nicole, very, very, very interesting and super interesting, actually, I've got to say. Nearly speechless, not quite, nearly speechless. So you talked about data sets and providing it for investors.
Mhm.
The second half of that slide was for deal sources.
Yeah.
How does that element work? Is it because that's quite interesting for deal sourcing it's quite an interesting sector of the property investors, if you like. Explain a little bit of that for some of our viewers who may not have come across who deal sources are and what they do.
So deal sources, they essentially, especially in the service accommodation sector, deal sources are the ones that would source the properties which have the correct permissions for that property to be used as service accommodation. They'd also put together an estimation for how much that property would look to generate if used as service accommodation, and then they'd be able to generate a prediction of the net yield by factoring in the asking price for that property. So they do all of that due diligence for you, and then present that as a package to the investor, and they would charge a finder's fee to do that. So
hopefully to all our viewers, you've put down your colouring pencils, put your writing stuff out, taking some notes. So that's super interesting because in terms of where we get this property investor, and then suddenly you get all these guys who are deal sources, and you're taking that to the next level where the investors may have the money, let's say, I want to invest in a property, and I've heard of these guys, especially overseas guys investing in properties, but they have someone finding it for them. So that's where you get deal sources.
That's it.
And you've gone to the next level where you're saying to people who want to specialize in connecting potential investors to use your package for deal sourcing for service accommodation, especially. Yeah. So fascinating, really interesting idea.
Yeah, so it speeds up the task of the deal sources. So at the moment, our customer base is sort of split 50-50, with 50% of our customers are deal sources, and then 50% are direct to the investor. So it depends how proactive an investor you want to be. Investors can use our data and source their own properties. But there is still more due diligence required, because, as I say, we provide the data to sort of reduce the search for looking for SA opportunities, but we don't actually put a package together on a specific property with all the figures that a deal sourcer would do. So there's still further due diligence required.
No, that's a great idea. And the other question I have for you is, I guess in terms of the property investor's view, if they're looking to invest in a property, and I think the term in financial circles might get echoed back on, it's called sweating your asset. Basically, you're making more of the same investment, the same asset. So is that the approach you're going for in terms of for investors, whether they run it themselves or whether they go through a deal source? So you're saying make more of the asset you're potentially investing in.
So I mean, just repeat the last bit again. What you said.
So what I'm saying is, for why property investors need to consider this approach to investing in property than just doing a normal buy to let.
Okay, why service accommodation generally? So it's all about maximizing your yield. So service accommodation, you can look to achieve in excess of 30% net yield on your property, which would be unheard of with a typical buy to let on an AST. So that's generally why you would go into service accommodation. The other benefit is if you are if you're new into property, maybe you've just got the one property, and you want to sort of if it's a holiday home, you want to have access to it for yourself, then service accommodation makes sense as well, because you can still get the benefit out of it whilst also making some money on it.
Yeah. So the guys who own, say, who are lucky enough to own holiday homes in Devon, can they use your app to put their properties on there? Is that
So you wouldn't as such put properties on the platform. So what we're doing is essentially just building data sets to help investors find those properties in the first place. So it's typically, if you look at Devon and more rural places, you'll find a lot of it. There's a lot of more freehold properties there, a lot of houses. Whereas in the city centres, where you've got most of the residential properties are leasehold apartment buildings. That's where you've got your big problems about what we're trying to do, service accommodation. So that's really where our data sets becomes the most useful if you're looking to source in a city centre, and you're finding pushback from management companies and freeholders.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned data sets. What do you mean by a data set? What's property type? What does that mean?
So we have essentially three databases, which so if we take London, for example. So in our database we have 2,400 buildings in London, which have service accommodation operating inside them. So we provide our customers with an Excel spreadsheet which has the address of the building. It has the date for when service accommodation first started operating in that building, and then we provide that to the investor, so they can then look at that list of buildings and start doing their searching within those buildings.
Okay, so the focus is
exactly focuses their search, yeah. And then we take information from Zoopla, Rightmove, and On the Market, and we look for properties that are available right now for sale and rent, and then we extract all that information and put it into another spreadsheet, and match the address of those properties with the address of the buildings that we know has service accommodation operating in them. So we can tell the investor, here's a property that you can go and buy right now in this building. There's 3 other flats in that building doing service accommodation. So, that's a good place to start if you want to find a property to buy to run the service accommodation.
So you just talked about their renting as well as for sale. So are we looking at potential rent to service accommodation? Is that the scenario we're looking down the road?
So we're looking at buy to SA, essentially, so buying properties to then run them as service accommodation, and then we're also, as you say, rent to rent service accommodation is also some of our customers use the data for that purpose also. So we provide a list of properties for rent in buildings that have service accommodation operating in them, and then the deal sources and investors, they'll contact the agents of those properties and try to organize a corporate let.
Oh, okay. So this is where, and this is becoming really interesting, where you're saying, buildings where service accommodation already operates, so therefore the freeholders don't have a problem with it. The managing agents don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, not necessarily don't have a problem with it. It's just that, in the vast majority of those buildings, either it's allowed or, freeholder is, happy to do that. What we advise is that, if you require it to be written into the lease, then that's when the investor will do their own due diligence to figure that out. But but rather than starting with every single building in an area and trying to call up each one, we narrow it down and we say, okay, start searching in these buildings. Because we already know that all of these buildings have service accommodation in them anyway. So chances are the people who bought their properties to run service accommodation have already done that due diligence. Hence, save yourself the time.
It's really interesting when you look further and further into it, because the classic mistake everybody makes is, I'm going to rent a flat and rent it out room by room. And, they go on one of these courses and they think, let me get my calculator out. I'm going to make gazillions of pounds. Yeah. And then they realize once they've signed the lease or the rental agreement, they can't do it because they don't.
Can't do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, fascinating. Compliance is a big issue here. Yeah. In terms of, for us, before I go into compliance, what areas do you cover at the moment?
So we provide data on most of the major cities in the UK. So London, Liverpool, Birmingham, Manchester, the Southwest as well. However, we can generate data for any area of the UK. So we're working a lot on request at the moment. So customer request specific location takes a couple of days, and we can build the data for that location. So in terms of compliance, as well as complying with freeholders' terms and the management companies' terms, you've also got to factor in the sort of local laws and council regulations. So we know that in London, for example, it's a maximum of 90 days of the year that you can operate a service accommodation. And then the likes of Edinburgh, the councils are bringing in restrictions there for permits, a requirement for permits for anyone doing service accommodation. So all of this information as well about local laws and permits and licensing, that's all going to, the plan is to condense all of that and put it onto our platform so that it serves as an informational resource for investors looking at SA.
Oh, great idea. And one thing you mentioned that I haven't heard of before, and that's really interesting, and I think our viewers interested in this should take note. You said there's certain areas that don't allow service accommodation on certain nights. You can only, for example, in London, but your property can only be listed on Airbnb for a maximum of 90 days in the year. So if it's booked for more, like as soon as you take 90 days worth of bookings in that year, that's it. It's your calendar's blocked. Nobody can book your property. Okay, and the Edinburgh's laws are different because it's the Edinburgh is different. So what people are saying there is that hotels have to obtain a license and have to pay additional taxes. Yet people doing service accommodation, they don't have any of those restrictions. So I think this issue is being pushed quite hard in Edinburgh, and that's why councils have actually, I think, committed to I think to that 2023 or 2024 they're actually going to make it mandatory to have this license in place. So until then, do your Edinburgh and then come north of the border. South of the border. Yeah. And by then Scotland might leave anyway. So anyway, that's politics. We don't do politics yet. So in terms of local compliance, you put together all the regulatory requirements for that particular area? Yeah, so that's a database we're building at the moment. So you'll be able to sort of search by location, and then it will display the local laws there. And in London, there's 32 boroughs. Are they all 90 days? Is that a blanket law rule? Yeah. So from what I believe, it's across the entire of London, it's 90-day limit. Yeah. So basically, let it out the Christmas period, disappear somewhere warm, and come back to your home is the scenario I'd go for. But a lot of people prefer the summer. You also talked about you can build data sets for any area people want. Basically, are you saying you don't ask, you don't get? So anybody who wants a particular request for a particular area, just contact you. If you can put your contact details back up. Yeah. So let me just put those back up now. Exactly. So because the data becomes outdated, fairly quickly. We generally sort of work to order. So if you require the data for any city, we can actually get that for you in a couple of days.
So we have, there's a couple that people are always, a couple of locations that people are always requesting. But if there's anywhere in the UK that we haven't covered before, we can still generate that for you.
And is this UK only, or are you going to go international?
UK at the moment, but this problem exists, globally. In the US, you've got, these housing associations which prevent SA from happening. In other parts of Europe, you've got, lots of pushback in apartment buildings, local laws everywhere, lots of states in the US which don't permit it. So this issue is a sort of global problem. I feel like it's not really being addressed by anyone.
Yeah, so getting ready to go global, basically, I think should be your motto. I mean, look,
maybe you can help us with that, Bill.
Yeah, well, fantastic. Look, fantastic project. I'm just thinking about when we stayed in Bangkok. It was interesting how it was positioned. This is a great building, actually. And I being in the properties, I thought it was fascinating how they had units to rent. They were doing service accommodation, but what the check-in instructions were, please don't tell them that you're renting this from me. So literally, and a bit of reason. So it's going on while it's not permitted in Bangkok. This is a very early end of last year.
This is one of the problems, because there are these pockets where you can do it. There are these buildings that allow it, but it's difficult to find them. So it just pushes people into doing it, trying not to get caught and doing it sort of almost illegally, which is the other issue which we're trying to solve.
Yeah. So just thinking about that, and now that the story's coming out of it.
Yeah.
But basically, my friend had booked it, and we got there, and I thought, wow, what a great building! It was like you go in one of these streets, and it was a huge building. It wasn't like something small. It was like 7 or 8 floors, immaculate building, super great place, amazing apartment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it was down a street where you could see the rest of it will next few years will get developed into something similar. And at the moment, you see stuff like, you used to see stuff like this in Delhi. I haven't been there for a long time, but you'd be walking up, you'd see the old traditional, very big houses, and they're decreasing as time goes on, and all these huge apartment buildings are being built. Yeah. And what I then saw was this apartment building had a fascinating concierge service. They literally had a model of the building. There were apartments to let in it, but when we read through the instructions again, and it suddenly highlighted, the instructions were fantastic as well. And in the instructions it said, please don't tell them that you're renting it from me. So I thought, what, now that you've gone through it, it's just twigged in my mind, saying that's what's going on there. They're obviously doing it undercover.
That's it.
Yeah. So getting ready to go global. No, fantastic idea. Wish you well to all of you. If you're thinking of doing, look, it's going to be worth having a play. If nothing else, you learn about your local laws, the area, and the law of the areas that you're thinking of doing this in. And what else is on your app? We got the guys who'll come and change the pillows for you and do the ironing, and all those guys that you need for service accommodation. Are those? Yeah,
the lenders, the insurers, management companies. All of that information is what we look to provide as well to improve the efficiency of your SA business.
Yeah. Look, running an SA business. Did you say you've got an SA business yourself?
Yes. So I've got 5 properties within my SA business.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So look, I'm going to make a deal with you. We'll get you back on, but you've got to do a presentation that's almost a training course on how to run an SA business properly. Is that a good deal?
Yeah, I'm sure I can. So what's that? So I run a training course, and then
we want you to do a little training for our members.
Yeah.
on how to run a service accommodation business properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. Why not?
Do us a little presentation. We want to, because this community is all about sharing knowledge and doing things properly.
Mm.
And as you're the man who can do it on both ends, you've got a practical experience, you've got an app that will benefit from your practical experience. If you put together a presentation for our viewers, how to run a service accommodation properly, we'd love to have you back on board, because it's a fascinating area. I love the idea. I hate getting involved. I run a mile from it. So I'd like to learn how to do it properly, and I'd like to get our viewers to have that chance as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And for you,
I'd love to do that. Yeah, it'd be great.
Fantastic. Look, no, great idea. And let me know when it's ready. Come back on the program and share some of your lessons in terms of what not to do, what to do in running a service accommodation business. And I'm guessing this, we're going to need a visa to go to Liverpool now, probably. But I'm guessing this is some great part of Liverpool that no one associates. Now all the Scousers are going to kill me. Listen, if you're living in Liverpool, I'm a proper Liverpool fan, all right? So I'm not having a go at Liverpool. So, Liverpool has always, I guess it's got a historic image, but until you go there, you don't realize what's going on. I might have a question coming in, actually. Hang on a minute. So I was actually listening to something on YouTube, and this sort of rings an interesting bell. Check if I've got a question. No, not a question, just a comment. I was watching a YouTube video on NFTs, and some guy is selling an NFT based on a Manchester apartment building. So I just thought that was crazy. It's an American video. I thought, who the hell wants to stay in Manchester? But I'm getting this. Oh dear, I've got all the, now I've done it. All the Mancunians are going to do dislike.
Very popular NFT, that for sure.
Forget NFT land, all the Mancunians are going to come. And I'm not popular with them anyway, because now they find out I'm a Liverpool supporter. But look, listen, great chat. Look, please come back and share your experiences of actually running a service accommodation business.
Yeah.
Because I think that's quite important. And this is what's driven you to create this product. So it's a fascinating story. Mm-hmm. Really love to hear your experience. I think there's some great lessons you can share with the viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that'd be great. That'd be great to come back. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Look, that can be of any help. Yeah, I'd love to do that. No,
fantastic. Great presentation. Looking forward to your success. Let us know how you get on, and come back and give us your learnings on running a successful service accommodation business. Fantastic. Yeah. Right.
Great. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. To all our viewers, I hope you enjoyed that little chit chat. It's more than a chit chat, actually. I think I learned a lot of stuff. So thank you for that. Nikhil is brilliant idea. Right man doing it. Get it done, mate. To all our viewers, hope you enjoyed that little session. We'll see everybody, guess what time? Next Thursday, 5 o'clock. And we might have a special announcement, although I'm not supposed to say that probably. I'm going to get myself into trouble. Join us next week. Facebook, YouTube, usual stuff. And we look forward to bringing you more interesting content around the property arena. Akhil, are you still there, or have you Skyped off to your meeting?
I'm still there. Thank you, Nikhil. It was very interesting, your presentation. And Bill and Surinder, no doubt, will touch base very soon.
Yeah, so I thought, do you deal with the lenders that lend on service accommodation units, or is that something you're looking into?
No, it's a very big market, actually. Service accommodation, Airbnb, holiday lets. It's a massive market. Lenders follow trends. They ask us what's the flavor of the month, and then they tweak their product guide. So no, it's a massive business. And obviously with COVID, a lot of people working from home. So there's a lot of change in the way people work and travel and so on. So no, I think it's a great opportunity for many.
Yeah. Would you say that interest rates are typically higher for for lending on service accommodation?
Yeah, so what I would say is because there's an added layer of risk, if you like, so that you'll have to pay for that risk. You're paying for risk. You're paying for the type of sector. the type, and then the complexity of lending in that market, and because it's not a huge market in terms of many lenders in that space, so they feel like they can charge you for the privilege. So yeah, you will have to pay a premium for it, but it's not going to be double or anything like that. It will just be 0.5% up to 1% more. But again, that's the benefit of using brokers like ourselves. We'll look at it from a holistic perspective and give the most competitive terms.
Yeah, and when you say there's the added risk, so from the lender's point of view, what is the added risk?
So the risk is it's very similar to like a HMO. You're going to have unrelated people living under one roof, similar to Airbnbs. You're going to have short-lived tenancies, overnight, weekend stays, and so on. There's a lot of risk around fire, regulation, the property being unoccupied. There's various reasons. There are risks attached to it, but the beauty is lenders are attracted to that business because that's the way the market's moving.
Yeah.
Nikhil, any more questions on Akhil for his lending services?
No, I really enjoyed your presentation, Akhil. I was meaning to ask about service accommodation. Obviously, that's where my interest is at the moment. So, I think that's great. Just to have you as a contact, and hopefully we can work together in the future.
Yeah, listen, I take it you're from Liverpool. I'm from London, but I support Liverpool. I'm a bigger fan than Deal.
Listen, wait. You can't pull that one on. Akhil, you can't pretend to be a Liverpool fan now. That was my line, mate.
No, and I'm definitely not an armchair fan. I do make the 200-mile journey now and then. So
really,
yeah. Well, they're all going to listen. They're all coming out the woodwork now. I've started it off. We're going to become a Liverpool boy channel.
But yeah, happy to connect with yourself.
Yeah, brilliant. Are you coming up this weekend for the Arsenal game?
No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but not this weekend. But you know what it is. One, it's busy diaries, time of the year. Again, it's the getting tickets, which is very, very it's a big task. But if you manage to get me 2 or 3 tickets, I'd love to join you at a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Where about in London are you based?
So the offices are in Bracknell in Berkshire, and then I live up the road in Ascot, so near Windsor and that sort of space.
Okay. Yeah, I spend a lot of time in London as well, so I'll give you a shout next time I'm down there.
Please, anytime.
So listen. I feel like Cilla Black very you two are. cross between Cilla Black and St. Greavesy, we've just turned into a football show. But anyway.
No. That's all good. You gotta have fun while you're working, I say.
Yeah. So no, great questions, guys. Look, I'm gonna extend this invitation to both of you. If we can, we might need to do a show on service accommodation, the lending, how to run it properly, how to pair it up with this app. Great idea, guys. So if we can get that together, let's do one on service accommodation. How do Akhil, Nikhil, you're going to bring it how to run it properly and how to use your app. Do a demo next time. And Akhil, if you can put together some stuff on lenders, what they need, and how the service accommodation from their point of view, I think it will make a great program for us.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we're doing for our investors. With Nikhil's support and myself, we like to call ourselves the power team for our clients, and it's key that you have the right resources in providing the relevant advice and so on. So yeah, happy to add any value if possible.
Brilliant. Let's put it together. And just for everyone's start, for all of our viewers, you won't have to be a Liverpool supporter to join in, although it'll help. Listen, sorry, that's great, fantastic show, folks. We'll see everybody next week, Thursday, 5 p.m. And we'll bring you the accommodation show. Might even turn into football show. Service accommodation might even turn into football show. Look, we'll see everybody next week. So thank you for everybody for sharing. Great show, guys. Really interesting topic there. And let's have Liverpool carry on winning. We'll discuss that.